Hi, this is Good Food Unearthed, and today's presentation is going to be focusing on the role of the protector of the vulnerable. And we're going to start off with the story of the snowblower and the rock. So you've got this massive snowblower, and he's going down the street, clearing the snow, going in onto the sidewalks, and he's fast, strong blades, moving really quickly, very sharp, very dangerous. And all of a sudden, your snowblower encounters a rock. Now, it could be smaller than this boulder. You can have a rock maybe about the size of a fist. And what happens when that snowblower encounters the rock? Well, it gets damaged. And what happens is, despite the size of the snowblower blades, their sharpness and speeds, the rock wins. The rock, even a small rock, can throw the shear pin out and put the whole machine out of commission. You see, the rock's nature is to be firm on its boundaries. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How to be firm in your boundaries, how to effectively protect them and protect those of the vulnerable. So, for example, in another situation in life, when a court issues an injunction to stop any further activity from a perpetrator, then the enforcement agencies are then responsible for ensuring that this protection occurs. So if an injunction is given by a judge against, say, a governor in the US to stop issuing lockdown orders, then it's incumbent upon the enforcement agencies to make sure that that governor no longer issues any more lockdown measures. There are two approaches you can take when dealing with the issues that we're facing today. One is a softer approach, which is more about raising awareness, educating, opening the door to people's minds and hearts and getting them to start asking questions and seeing what's really going on. What direction do they really want to go? Trying to ease past that fear. The second approach is holding violators to account right now. Violators are the people, whether they are fully cognizant of it or not, they're the people who are committing violence or acts that are in violation of the human rights of others. They're doing them right now in progress. What this calls for is a firm approach. So you can think of it almost as being like the elements. Water has different stages. It can be hard and cold and sharp like ice, or flowing, and it could be smooth flowing or fast flowing. You could have a torrential river, or you can have a hurricane, cyclone, or you can have a smooth pond. And then you've also got water vapor, and that becomes gas and air. As well with fire, fire can give light and warmth and comfort, but it can also burn and destroy and sear. And earth can be soft, it can be mushy, it could be gentle on your feet, but as well, it can also be hard and firm. And air can be like a breeze, or it can be a gale, or it can be a hurricane. So you yourself can be all of these things. And it's a matter of looking at the situation and deciding what is the best approach for this particular situation. What I loved about working with animals is how direct they are. Think of a mother dog with her puppies. She will let them crawl all over her, play, bite, nip, and all of that. But if there's a line that is crossed, she lets them know by issuing a sharp bark with a snap of the mouth, right? It's a very clear signal that says, nope, not that way. and the puppy gets it right away and it works. So dogs, when they interact with each other and they're from different families, will also give signals to each other. They have warning signals that say, don't come any closer. They're very clear about this. And then they have signals where they say, it's okay, you can come closer. So what we kind of need to engage is that mama bear, that instinctual, intuitive protectiveness that doesn't just say, well, I'm going to see what happens while this bear or this mountain lion charges my cub. No, no, she's alert. She's present. She makes herself known. She'll put herself in between the source of danger and her cubs, even if she's weak and malnourished from a long winter. So she acts. And this is the key thing, that instantaneous, intuitive action to stand up and stand on guard. So that's nature looking after her cubs. But for some reason, in our human society, mothers have become far removed from their intuitive connection to their babies, to their children, understanding that maybe they should stop and think about what they're making their children go through. Instead of protecting their cubs from assault, they actually will hold them down and allow another person to assault them, which is to violate, to cause pain and suffering. As well in nature, you can look at the example of the trees and be like the trees, where your strength is rooted in the ground. You have a firm trunk that is still flexible. And when ill winds blow, you bend, but you don't break. You nurture and protect those who take shelter under you. We are like the little branch that quivers during a storm, doubting our strength and forgetting we are the tree deeply rooted to withstand all life's upheavals. Plants develop mechanisms. They can be soft, but they develop defensive compounds as well. And this is where we get antioxidants in food. Those are protective mechanisms to allow the plant to fully flourish and grow to the point where it produces its seeds or fruit. So let's look at the story of the home intruder. This is going to be a reframing of an example of what's happening today and make it more immediate. And we're going to use the home, and the home is your personal space. This is your family and your own, that's your private property. It's your personal space, very much like your home. Your home or your body is your home as well. And that is something that you have every right to protect. You have every right to protect your bodily and psychological integrity. And you have every right to protect the personal space, your home space, as well as those under your care. So let's go with this story. And the intruder's intent here is to commit violence. And when we say that, that means they want to violate the violation of your human freedom, dignity, and rights. Yours, your children, the elderly who live with you, anybody under your care. That is the intent of the intruder. So, scenario one is they bang on the door and you decide to open the door. The intruder says, "Let me in." You obey and you let them in. The intruder enters, goes over to your child, grabs them. Then they proceed to cover the nose and mouth of your child with their hand and continuously whisper in their ear, saying, "You are deadly. You will kill your friends. You will kill your mommy and daddy. You will kill your grandma and grandpa. If you want to protect your mommy, you have to wash your hands all the time. You must wear a mask and not breathe on her. You must stay 6 feet away because you're so deadly." And they'll repeat over and over and over again. So let's look at what just happened. First off, by opening the door and allowing the intruder into the home, mom or a teacher in a classroom, they allow themselves to be violated, to have their own rights and freedoms overridden by the intruder. Having done that, they then compromise their ability to be a responsible protector for the vulnerable, for the child, and allowed the intruder to commit that abuse, which makes them as well complicit in that crime. So, what can mom do now? Well, she's got a couple of options. She can stand there and do nothing and let it happen. She can also stand there and say to the intruder, "Do you know what you're doing is illegal? Do you know I can hold you liable?" But while she's doing that, he still has hold of the child. The child's still suffering and in pain and is scared and worried and starting to become depressed because there's nobody there helping him. He's struggling and doesn't know what to do. But the mom's just standing there and saying, "Do you know what you're doing is illegal? Do you know I can hold you liable?" Or option three, she can act like a mama bear. It's never too late to take a stand, even if you've let the intruder in already and they've gone over and grabbed your child. So, what can you do? You make a clear, definitive statement. This is like the bark of a dog, it's a warning, a bark or a growl. You say, "Get away from my child," but at the same time, you remove your child out of harm's way and you get between your child and the intruder and you warn them. This is the animal growl again. "If you come near me or my child, I will have you charged with blah," or whatever action you're prepared to take. The difference between a question and a statement in this situation: do you know that what you're doing is illegal and that you can be held liable, right? Or in enforcing these measures, you are committing offenses for which you can and will be held liable. These are two very different tones, and one of them is more of the softer educational approach, and this could be for somebody who is not really causing harm to the vulnerable right now, right this moment. You can educate them, try to open up their minds. But if somebody is in danger right now, they're being harmed right now, Then you make a definitive statement and tell them you are committing offenses for which you can and will be held liable. And at the same time, you take action that can put you between the vulnerable and the person committing the harm. The vulnerable are being victimized right now. To those perpetrating the crime against the vulnerable, what do you do first? Do you ask them if they know what they're doing? Or do you remove the children or anybody else who's vulnerable from harm and state clearly that there are lines that will not be crossed? Okay, let's do scenario 2. There's the pounding at the door. The intruder wants to come in. He wants to override your autonomy and tell you what to do and make you comply. Well, mom decides to open the door. The intruder enters, grabs mom, covers her mouth and nose, and starts whispering the same things in her ear, that you're deadly. You need to wear a mask. You need to social distance so you don't kill the people that you love. You're an asymptomatic carrier. You're dangerous. You can't go see your mother in the care home. You can't go see your father. You need to protect your children. And this is when the intruder says, now you must do this to your child. And the mom complies. And she then does the same to her child, telling them the same whispers that were told to her in her ear. She'll tell them to the child, and she'll be the one covering the child's mouth and nose. So, what happened here? The mom accepted a severe violation of her freedom, dignity, and rights. And after that, she chose to commit the same violations on her own child, making her complicit in the crime. Instead of Mama Bear protecting her cubs, this is akin to her letting them. Scenario 1 was akin to her standing by and letting her cubs be attacked by the intruder. And scenario 2, she attacks the cubs herself for the intruder. So that big male bear that wanted to make lunch of her cubs, in scenario 2, she said, well, okay, I'll do that for you. And she'll kill the cubs so that the intruder can have them. And in scenario 1, she'll just walk away and let the male bear go in and take her cubs. So we need to ask ourselves, the adults in the situations here, the people who have the role of being responsible, who are using their power, the might factor. This is a situation of might over right. What are they doing? Are they really protecting the vulnerable? Fear-driven good intentions or thinking that you're doing what's right do not excuse crimes against humanity. And this is an excerpt from a film of a trial of women guards from Nazi Germany. I think it was about 20 years after the Holocaust. They were discovered and put on trial. And it's a beautiful film if you ever get to see it, but just listen to the testimony of the one woman here.
Why did you not unlock the doors? Why did you not unlock the doors? I've asked all of you, and I'm getting no answer. 2 of the victims are in this court. They deserve an answer. This is the SS report. You all have copies. This is the report, which was written, approved, and signed by all of you immediately after the event. In the written report, you all claim you didn't even know about the fire until after it happened. But that isn't true, is it? Well, It's not true.
I don't know what you're asking.
The first thing I'm asking is, why didn't you unlock the doors?
Obviously. For the obvious reason. We couldn't.
Why couldn't you?
We were guards. Our job was to guard the prisoners. We couldn't just let them escape.
I see. And if they escaped, then you'd be blamed. You'd be charged.
No.
You might even be executed.
No.
Well then.
If we'd opened the doors, there would have been chaos. How could we have restored order? It happened so fast. It was snowing, the bombs, the flames. There were flames all over the village. Then the screaming began and got worse and worse. And if they'd all come rushing out, we couldn't just let them escape. We couldn't. We were responsible for them.
So you did know what was happening. You did know. You made a choice. You let them die, rather than risk letting them escape. The other defendants have made...
So we have here people who are following what they may believe is the right thing to do. But then I'll ask you, what is the responsibility of a guardian over the vulnerable? That responsibility includes knowing oneself enough to not be controlled by their own fear. So if a decision needs to be made, it is not guided by fear, which blinds to the reality. There is a duty to investigate any and all claims, especially health claims, to not blindly trust anyone who says that this is safe, that there are no risks. You are the one who has taken responsibility. If you were to then just follow somebody else's advice, you are effectively abdicating your role as the responsible guardian. Another aspect is paramount, respecting the inherent freedom, dignity, and rights of those dependent on you. This means respecting their bodily and psychological autonomy and integrity, respecting their right to refuse any preventive, diagnostic, or therapeutic treatment. Another aspect here is full personal accountability is accepted by the guardian for the welfare of those under their care, and as well to empower your dependents. You don't make them victims. You don't make them disempowered so that they feel that they need you, but you encourage them to stand on their own in every way that they are capable of. So let's look at the story again of the intruder, and let's do a third scenario. The intruder bangs on the door, stating, "I am an expert. Let me in." Well, what does the mom do this time? She acts like a mama bear. She locks the door, she blocks it with a chair, she removes her child to a safe location out of harm's way, and the mom gives a clear warning, "Get away from my home." Mom is prepared then at that point to protect her vulnerable child from abuse, harm, violence, violation. She is knowledgeable about her rights and options and the weaknesses of her intruder. And she is pointed, direct, and firm. Whatever is thrown at her, she doesn't care. She is going to take a stand. So what just happened in this scenario? Well, mom was firm about her personal boundaries by not letting the intruder into her personal space, and she commanded respect through her own self respect, right? She did not allow violation of her inherent freedom, dignity, and rights. And then she gave a clear warning to the intruder to back off. She removed the vulnerable under her care to a safe place away from harm and put herself between the intruder and the child. She acted immediately in defense of the vulnerable and was prepared to take further action. So these are some quotes that are helpful to go by. I am a mama bear. I will love and protect my children no matter how old they are. God help the person that ever tries to hurt them in any way. And as a mother, my job is to protect my children. There is no greater warrior than a mother protecting her child. And the love of a mother is so great that a mother who will protect her only child with her life, and that type of boundless love is what is aspired to create compassion for all of life, for all of humanity, for all of the world, for everything in existence. This action, this stance that the mother takes, also teaches her own child how to have self respect and how to stand tall in the face of violence, abuse, or violation. That is empowering your child at the same time as you yourself are defending yourself and their rights. So let's translate this to today's world. Our expert, our intruder at the door, is the man or woman on the TV who says, I'm an expert. Listen to me, do as I say. Basically, let me override your freedoms and rights, your ability to think for yourself, your ability to choose for yourself, which is violating your rights and freedoms. So, option one, where the mom just let him in and didn't do anything and let him do what he wanted to with her child, this is acquiescence. Here, you compromise your ability to be a protector of the vulnerable. You basically abdicate that responsibility and say it's no longer yours, it's the job of the expert. And then in option two, you acquiesced as well. But in this case, you became even more complicit because it was you, as the parent, the guardian, the teacher, who was enforcing the expert's dictates on those under your care. So when you accepted the coercion from the expert and you abdicated your own personal authority in your life, you then decided to coerce those around you, especially your dependents, to also comply and to also go along with relinquishing their personal authority in their lives. So, option three, when Mama Bear stood up, what happened here was that she knew and respected herself and clearly set her boundaries. She fully accepted responsibility as a guardian over the vulnerable, and she did not displace herself as the authority in her life. Because if she does that, what she is doing is essentially deciding to be subject to the obligations and will of another. And there's a term for that, and it's called slavery. If you feel fear at all, think of this. What if fear is that place in you that still has not experienced love? Wouldn't you want to fill it up with all of your self love? That amazing love that a mother feels for her child, that unconditional love, it needs to be applied to herself if she is to be a strong, responsible guardian over the welfare of her dependents and to empower those children to become self-reliant, strong, beautiful individuals of their own. It's important here to recognize the difference between force and violence. So many people shy away from making a firm declaratory statement. They don't want to do that. They don't want the confrontation. They don't want the other person to feel uncomfortable. They don't want to create a sense of tension. They don't quite understand how to use force because it's confused with violence. So we're going to go into that a little bit. So for example, I'm going to show a couple of videos that are for physical self-defense, but you can apply the same principles to the language you use, as well as to your mindset and your attitude in facing anything in life. So here we're going to look at just watch how their bodies move and how they tune in and know very well the fluid movements of their body. So they have to use minimal exertion and minimal force to protect themselves and get the opponent away from them.
See, in this way, you work already as a good machine, you know, because for you to hit there won't be any problem, you know, because you work like you want, not like he want. Do you understand? He didn't hook you to show you. For example, if you start to jump, hook here, then tip the guy, and it will be much better. So you just most of the time you relax yourself and look at it. See, my movement already here. I can hit him like that, and what I do with weight, more your hands will be relaxed, it's easy to hit the guy quite deep. Quite deep. Do you understand? The first one. Okay, we'll try. So it means when I attack you, you escape. No. See, shoulder comes. This shoulder comes because I will jump and I will protect shoulder. I need to do this such a way. Just hands. So relax. Push here. And you're already here. See, in reality, you will attack the guy. So it means you protect yourself. For example, you put the fist here. Put the fist here. Stay normal. And when I start to touch you here, you move your shoulder away. Okay. And meanwhile, you push him. And so this way you develop that idea to protect yourself and hit at the same time. In the beginning, you have too much tension, and it will be hard for you to hit. Later, it will be much easier. See, because look at it, boom, and you're already here, and you already can see. But for you to change distance, it won't be any problem. You show one thing, and you hit him, bring him, bam, later hit him. Do you understand? But in the beginning of this work, you escape like that, and meanwhile, relax yourself. Yeah, and it's not necessary to keep your hands always down. You can hit your hands wherever you want. But you need to feel your fist, guys. Very important to feel your fist. Yes. Fist. Let's see. Okay. Push your way. Here. Push it here. Okay, there. So try to relax yourself, and meanwhile attack the guy. Attack. Do not give him a chance to fight against you.
So what's included in this movement here and the strikes that are used, the strikes are located at spots that will push your opponent away. So it's moving them away from you. So if you hit them where their elbow, where it moves them in a different direction, or if you find where they're not in balance and you apply light pressure to one spot and they fall over. So this is kind of the intelligence that's employed where you can protect yourself, protect those that are under your care, and use a force, a strike that is firm, that hits the spot, that discourages the person from coming after you again. So let's look at something where you're facing somebody who seems to be more powerful than you. And this here is physical again, but think of it when you're facing the school and authority figures, or the police, or another person representing the full force of the state, which is a coercion and intimidation. So what can you do? Well, take some of the tips from this class here.
What do we do against power greater than our own? Use intelligence and overload the opponent's brain with several movements. One movement is not enough. Here's the second and third. Watch. He delivers a strike. In response, I deliver several in different directions. Watch. One arm protects. The other delivers a strike at the same time. Simultaneously, block, strike, strike, strike. Watch the movements. Simultaneously, block, strike, strike, strike. I continuously break his focus so his brain can't react. If I add the legs, it will be even more effective.
Right? So what we're looking at here is when you keep that fluidity, if you know yourself well enough, you know your body, you know your mind, you have that central balance throughout all of you so you can relax. And if somebody confronts you and tries to violate you, either psychologically or bodily, you are very capable of deflecting or disarming or disabling that person with minimal force, but it's effective force. So where you strike is going to be very effective, so you don't have to waste energy lashing out all over the place. All right, so protect yourself, but also strike, right? Do not give the violator a chance to harm you or your child or any other vulnerable person under your care. Know yourself, know your opponent, protect your boundaries and those of the vulnerable. Use your intelligence. Use the intelligences of your body and your mind. Minimal but sufficient force can be used to deflect, disarm, and disable. And remember, be like the elements. Know when to be soft and gentle. Know when to be clear and firm. Know when to be a force. Know when to be calm. Fire not only creates, but it destroys and it transforms. All of these capabilities exist within you as well, and you can master them and use them when necessary. And here we're going to end with one of the sections from the Tao. Express yourself completely, then keep quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss, and you can accept it completely. Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. So, just to recap here, if you are facing an ongoing assault and those you care about who are under your duty to protect, you have accepted that responsibility freely in full consciousness. If this is going on immediately, right now, right this moment, open yourself up to all that is within you, all that you are capable of, all of the energies that you can harness. And when you open yourself up to that and you are balanced and relaxed, you can employ all of those intelligences that you have. It's not just the brain, there is more to it than that. And you embody that completely. You open yourself up to insight, which is tuning in to see where you can be most effective. And which route are you going to apply here? For an immediate threat, it needs an immediate, direct, effective jab. For something that is longer term, that can be a cleverer, more subtle type of approach. So we've got the softer and the sharp. Sharp and quick, soft and long. When it says, if you open yourself up to loss, you are not afraid of any of the consequences that will come to you as a protector. You know how to effectively handle any attacks from you, any attacks to you. So if it comes to you as a verbal threat, or if there's a physical altercation, you are centered, you are balanced, you know how to take that in the most effective way so that energy does not throw you because you do not hold any tension, you do not hold any fear. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to be flexible like the tree when the wind blows. You are flexible and you do not break. You are strongly rooted, but you can still bend. All right. So, this is the role of a guardian, of a protector. Know when to be soft, know when to be firm. Do not shy away from delivering a direct, pointed response. Know how to harness your energy to deliver that full effect with minimal output of your own, so you're not drained, so your energy is not going all over the place. And you can do this. So I'd like to thank you for attending this presentation with me, and I hope you feel more empowered to stand up for yourself and stand up for those who depend on you.